Okay, we'll start. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Iti piso bhagavarahang samma sambuddho vidyacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu. Anuttaro purisadamma sarati satta deva manusanang buddho bhagavati namo tassa samma sambuddhassa. Swakato bhagavata dhammo sanditiko akaliko ehipasiko apanayiko pachatang veditabbo vinuhiti namo tassa niyanika sadammasa. Supatipanno bhagavato savaka sango ujupatipanno bhagavato savaka sango nyayapatipanno bhagavato savaka sango samichi patipanno bhagavato savaka sango yadidang chattari purisa yugani atta purisa puggala esa bhagavato savaka sango ahuneyo pahuneyo dakkineyo anjali karaniyo Anuttarang punyaketang lokasapi namo tassa atta arya puggala mahasangasa. So today's topic is about laziness. Of course, again, we can see laziness from different perspectives, from different angles. The causes also we can see from so many angles. We can't just simply say, can't generalize. Laziness is because of this, or this and this and this. No. From so many perspectives, we can see the laziness. The so-called the reason, the cause for activeness, for dynamism, for creativity, for productivity. For one person, it may be the same cause, the same reason, maybe the cause, or it may be like say, for the other person, it may be the cause for laziness. For one person, it is the cause for activity. For the other person, it is the cause for laziness. That is also very much there. For example, like say, desire to accomplish something in the life. It may be a cause for one person to work very hard, work very actively, work very dynamically. But that desire, if it is not properly understood, properly, like say, worked upon, by doing what he can accomplish or he can fulfill that desire. If that clarity is not there, then the same desire may become a cause for laziness. He may lose interest. Oh, this desire I can't do, I can't fulfill, I can't accomplish, I don't know the ways and means to fulfill this desire. Or maybe he may be simply wondering in that very desire itself, in that very dreaming itself, in that very fantasy itself, may be struck. And he may not say start understanding, knowing, and executing the different things to achieve or to fulfill that desire. That very fantasy, the very desire may become a fantasy, and it may pull him down to absolute laziness, absolute idleness. That is also very much possible. In that way, you can't say that this is the specific reason for laziness. We can't generalize. Or maybe time to time, today a desire may motivate me. Tomorrow that same desire may oppress me, may disappoint me, or may lead to a fantasy, and I may simply waste my time in that very fantasy, which is because of the desire, that very thought of desire. That way, from time to time, from moment to moment, the same cause. It may become, like say, it may keep, affecting you to become more lazy or to become more dynamic. Or from person to person, the same cause. It may make a person to become dynamic or the other person to become lazy. In that way, it is very you can't say, you can't list out exactly the precise reasons, the exact reasons, the exact causes for laziness. Of course, in say a few things, of course, for vast majority of the people, what is that is affecting? For most of the time, what is that is affecting? Those things, of course, all of you know, many of us we know, because there are so many people who gave a lot of talks. If you go through your YouTube, or maybe in, in the internet, you will get so many talks, so many books, so many versions from different psychologists, different philosophers, different religious leaders. The reason for laziness, and of course, across all the cultures, all the religions, it is considered as a negative trait only. Most of the people, most of the times, it is considered as negative only. Laziness, nobody considers it as positive. But still, now the modern psychologists and even the modern some philosophers or religious people also, they're talking about the positive side of laziness also. In this, especially in this era where people have become restless in the name of dynamism, in the name of creativity, in the name of activity, when the people are carried away in this so-called uh, activity, it has become restlessness, and that is again inviting a lot of mental health issues, physical health issues. That's why people are talking about tactful laziness or clever laziness, or even the laziness itself, the indolence or the idleness itself. In a way, it has so many positive benefits also, positive effects also. In that way, also, so many psychologists are talking about. And what is the right view? What is Buddha's view? What are the right view solutions to this laziness? That also we will see later. First, as generally we look at laziness from psychologist point of view, from general point of view, from other religions, and then we see the right view perspective of laziness. And of course, we will see the causes and the effects of laziness. And also we will see the positive and the negative. Of course, most of them people consider it as negative only, the negative effects of laziness, and a few positive effects of laziness also we will see. In this 1 hour, we have to see all these things. Let us make an attempt to penetrate into all these aspects within this 1 hour. Now, coming to this psychological aspects of laziness, what the psychologists they talk about. There are so many psychologists who worked on this laziness, who tried to reason out the different causes of laziness. So the one they generally talk about is the different kinds of fears also will make a person lazy. Fear of failure, then you don't attempt to step back. Fear of success also. Some people have the fear of success. Generally success fascinates everyone, but deep inside, there will be a fear of success also. Because to maintain the success, to keep in that same state of success is very difficult. Subconsciously, many of us, we are afraid of success also. We have that fear of success also, because to maintain it, to sustain it, to say, then to show it off all the time, success. Deep inside, there will be a fear. There is fear, and that is called the fear of success and the fear of responsibility. If you are a responsible person, then you need not have to, you need not sit idle, but very responsibility will push you. And if the one responsibility will lead to another responsibility, and in that way, I'm completely get stuck in these so-called actions, so-called activities, then there is no time for me to relax or entertain myself. That way, that fear of responsibility, fear of failure, fear of success. They say, psychologists, they say it is the natural tendency of a human being is to become idle, even in the animals also. Most of the animals, they may look like, sometimes they look very active, but Most of the time, they're idle. They sit idle, their minds are idle. Only when they're hungry, when they're having some fear to protect themselves from the prey animals, then they have to be active. Otherwise, they are idle. They remain idle. The same tendency is there among the human beings also, because of so many influences from the society, from the motivation, different competition, comparison. All these things make people to become more restless in the name of activity. So to come out of this, this natural tendency of becoming idle, all these societal influences and your own ambitions, like that again you have imbibed from the society. These things may make you to become to come out of this sin. This is considered as a sin, hmm, among the general public, among psychologists, philosophers, religious leaders. They have given one spiritual significance also to this idleness, to this laziness. It is considered as a sin. One of the seven sins in Christianity and in Islam also, in Hinduism also, in Buddhism also. It is considered a sin. Of course, it is a sin, because a human can't remain always as an animal. Human has so many faculties like intelligence, like faith, like intuitiveness, like wisdom. So our analytical analysis, like awareness, so many things are there which are far far superior than the animal tribes. So in that way, definitely it is a sin. Idleness or laziness is definitely a sin. And but natural by default, the human mind is also like that of an animal. It tends to remain idle. It tends to remain lazy. It tends to remain. It tends to procrastinate also. Subconscious laziness is actually procrastination. You might have heard of this word procrastination. Though many people are very active, very dynamic, they can't take up the particular action that they were thinking so many times because something is inhibiting them. Hmm? Though by nature they are not lazy, by nature they are not indolent. There's something that is inhibiting them to take up one particular action, which they think it is quite important also, but they could not do it. Hmm? So that is a slight difference between laziness and procrastination. Laziness is you don't see any reason to do that particular work, or you see there is a lot of happiness in being idle, in being lazy, or being carried away in some entertainment, in some playfulness, or in something else other than that particular action, or even sitting idle, or even or sleeping, or thinking it as boring, and like say simply having some fantasy in the mind, creating your own dream world, not indulging in the actions. That is laziness. Whereas procrastination is you are quite busy with many things, but one particular thing that you wanted to do that you can't do, that you something is inhibiting you. Hmm. In that way, these psychologists define the differentiate laziness and procrastination. Hmm. So that we will see later, of course, about this procrastination and all. There is no much importance for procrastination. Say when we look at, of course, there is a lot of spiritual significance in procrastination. You can see deeply the subconscious reasons for procrastination, but we will see that topic in maybe some other time. Next time we can see that. Now we focus on this laziness, the psychological aspects, on the religious aspects, and the right view aspects of this laziness and how to come out of it. Okay, so these psychologists they are talking about these different kinds of fears: fear of responsibility, fear of failure, fear of success. All these different kinds of if there is a mess of these fears in your mind, then definitely that person get uh, say inhibited by taking up any action. And even the fear of expectations. Many people expect so many things. If I jump into this action and then I just get into that loop of actions only. I can't fulfill the expectations. So that kind of fear also, if many people, of course, many people have, and that also inhibits a person to become more active, more dynamic, and more activity oriented. And again, a fear of conflict. This is one more major fear for laziness. What is this fear of conflict? If I take up some action, then some other person will come up with some other idea and he will start say resisting my actions or start finding fault in my actions. The fear of say other people finding fault in my actions. That is the reason for the fear of conflicts. Mm. So fault finding, fear of conflicts, all these things will inhibit a person to plunge into actions. And that leads to the laziness or indolence. Mm. And it may cover, or your own subconscious may cover your indolence. As it is, you can start to say defending yourself that particular action is boring. Mm. Because of these deep subconscious fears, that will make you to cover your weaknesses by saying it as boredom. You bring in this word boredom also. In that way, all this is the play of the mind to cover your fears, to cover your say weaknesses, limitations, and to cover your say this your natural tendency to remain lazy. Then the other people who are influencing you with some comparison and competition, you again cover it with this kind of say pretension, with this kind of terminology like boredom and all. In that way, all this is like subconscious play. If there is no strong motivation to achieve one particular goal, all these different kinds of fears they start playing, and to cover it, you end up in this what is called indolence or laziness. And some people, they always seek some kind of pampering, some kind of say pricing. If they don't get it, and all their energy will be lost. They don't take up anything. They don't do anything. That kind of just like small children, always they want some incentive, some motivation, some pampering. If they lack it, if they don't get it even for a minute, then all their energy, all their motivation will go and they remain lazy and they fall into what is called this indolence. And these are the different psychological reasons. There are some physical or medical reasons also for laziness. If there is no proper nutrition, proper rest, or if it is too much also, if it is too much food, too much nutrition, too much say too much work, then also people there is a possibility of falling into laziness. And just to because too much food also will make you say feel sleepy, feel lazy. That is also one of the main reasons, especially nowadays. In the ancient days, it is lack of nutrition, lack of food. That is one of the reasons for laziness. But in the modern days, it is too much food, too much say sensual excitements also. Little bit of desire for sensual excitement will make you active, but sometimes if it is too much, if you get addicted to these sensual excitements, then whatever you want to do, your responsibilities, you may ignore. The mind gets carried away in this sensual excitements only. The mind gets carried away in these fantasies only. That is one main reason for laziness. The mind gets carried away in this sensual excitement. So you forget about your work, your responsibilities. That is also one of the reasons for laziness. Then the physical reasons they talk about. In the physical reasons, so many medical reasons also will come. So the medical reasons or the physical reasons are like Anemia. If a person has this anemia, people are a little tired always there, and they don't feel like working. That very mood to work, that very energy levels in the body to work will be less because of anemia, because of this lack of this iron. Whatever may be the reason, the blood, you end up in anemia, and that will make you little tired, little lazy, and you don't feel like working. And then hypothyroidism, this thyroid secretion, if it is less, then such people also, they always feel tired and they don't have that energy to work, and they also become little indolent. And chronic fatigue, some people end up in some regular chronic fatigue, always having some kind of fatigueness in the body. It is chronic, it has become like very deep rooted, very like permanent, very regular. And such people also, we can see laziness among such kind of people also. And again, diabetes also. The people with diabetes also generally, they are less energetic, less dynamic, less work oriented. Of course, nowadays people taking a lot of tablets. Many people work even though they are diabetic. Nearly one third of Indians are diabetic. That's what people say. All over the world, also diabetes is quite common nowadays. Many of them you might have seen, though they are diabetic, they work very hard. And of course, it is because of the medicines. Otherwise, diabetes as a disease, it will make you more indolent. And sleep issues, even the sleep issues also will make you uh, indolent or lazy. And schizophrenia, they having people having their own world, creating their own world. They live in their own world. Such kind of depression and schizophrenia patients are anxious people. So many psychological issues also make people nowadays lazy and indolent and step back, and it will actually multiply the different kinds of fears and they step back. That is also reason for laziness. Ancient days only there were few reasons for laziness: overeating or overworking. So that they are the reasons, or maybe too much pampering by the family, or too much support from the parents and from the ancestors, that used to make people lazy. But nowadays there are so many reasons: physical reasons, psychological reasons, medical reasons, that make the people lazy. Lack of motivation, lack of goals, lack of uh, a companionship. That is also one of the important factors. When there is no proper support from your companions, or what you call uh, the accountability, then you end up like people who motivate you, who put you into the track, or if you are not in the association of such dynamic people, if you are alone or if you are in the association of wrong people, then the mind generally tend to fall into laziness. Some exceptional people who appreciate loneliness, who appreciate aloneness, who appreciate solitude, they can be creative in their solitude. And but vast majority of the people, because of some anxiety, because of some depression, because of fear of society, fear of companionship, there's many of nowadays the tendency is also there. They try to remain aloof, they try to remain alone. That kind of tendency is also leads to what is called this laziness. In that way, there is a lot of psychological reasons, the reasons, the societal reasons, the medical reasons, hmm, the different permutation and combination of these different reasons are making people indolent and lazy. So that is the different reasons. And of course, you can list out so many other reasons also. One by one, you can discuss so many reasons, because so many psychologists, they take up different factors, different issues that lead to laziness, and they have produced a lot of thesis, a lot of work they have done on that. And in that way, all of them that they're right. But we can't generalize. So we are taking a few reasons which are more general. And also because of time restraint, we can't take up everything in more detail. Now coming to different uh, ways and means to handle laziness. And of course, again, many people will give many solutions. You should say, of course, the right association is very, very important. If you want to be dynamic, then you be in the association of dynamic, active people, people with the same goal as you have, and that will inspire you, that will induce, the very association will induce the dynamism into your psyche also, your mind also. And that is the best thing. The religious people, psychologists, even in the right, everyone talk about the right association. If the whatever association is yours to achieve whatever you want to achieve, hmm, whether it is right or wrong, good or bad, your association has a tremendous impact. So the same thing holds good with laziness also. If you are in the association of people who are having, who live in some fantasy world, dreaming world, then you definitely, you will also fall into the same uh, weakness. So in that way, or if you are in the company of dynamic people, active people, then definitely the same energy you will also get. This is 90 to 95% it works. But and of course, you should have strong faith in that particular association. This matter of faith also, like that is also important. That we will see later in the religious reasons. Now, coming to these practical reasons that we are discussing, this right association is very important to come out of laziness. The right association of active people, dynamic people is very, very important. And having, of course, goals in the life, proper goal, and understanding the goal correctly and making it a smart goal, making it into small, small goals and very specific goals, very motivated goals. They're called smart goals. Hmm. So in that way, one should have those. Again, the intelligence will come into picture. Why I am lazy? So why? What kind of happiness I'm looking for in the future and now, and for that, what kind of work I should take up? All this intelligence is there. Then you can set up a goal. Then you can make it into smart goals. And you can work on it. Small and smart goals. You can work on it, and then again can come out of laziness. and and of course a smart say shift in work and downtime, work and rest. A small, if you are smartly, you can shift from work to rest, rest to work, work to entertainment, entertainment to work. So in that smartness again, that smartness is there. You can be free from this laziness. Even this intelligence, this smartness is playing a role even in selecting the right companion or association, in making smart goals, in in shifting from work to downtime, downtime to work. Downtime means the rest. So if that kind of smartness is there, again you can become quite active, activity oriented person. Then looking after your physical health, the one should be like very like optimum in the physical energies with proper food, proper weather, proper say exercise. Hmm. So all these things are at the optimal level, proper level. Then your physical health will be proper, and that will keep you at optimum energy levels. If you fall into any of these mental health issues or physical health issues, then that optimal energy levels of the body, it will be affected, it will be disturbed. Then you end up in hmm, indolence or laziness. If it is too much also, then you may fall into laziness. And in most of the cases, it is too less, then you fall into laziness. So, with the what you have to do, you have to maintain. You have to, again, some intelligence is required to take care of your health at the optimal level with proper exercise, proper food, proper weather, proper shelter, proper clothing, all these things is suitable for you to achieve that optimalness. So if that you can achieve, then the indolence levels will come down. The one more thing that many psychologists suggest is to practice positive self-talk. Many a time, low esteem, low esteem, low self-esteem. I'm not worth for it. That kind of feeling is going on in your mind. Then again, you may fall into what you call this laziness or indolence. If it is too much, also, if you're too proud, puffed up with a lot of overconfidence, also there is a possibility of falling into this indolence. But in most of the cases, vast majority of the cases, especially nowadays, this low self-esteem also will it will prevent them to take up responsibility, to take up actions. A lot of other fears will mess up in the mind, and such people will become uh, lazy and indolent. For this, self-love, self-appreciation, self-forgiveness, all these things are important. Like in our right view feelings, right view emotions, right view Brahma Viharas, this subtle feelings, hmm, sublime feelings. These one should practice. One should give metta to oneself. One should forgive one's own mistakes. One should appreciate oneself. One should be loving to oneself. From there only the metta will start. All these great positive, these sublime feelings will start in your mind. And we are going to conduct different workshops on these sublime feelings also next month. We are going to announce this maybe in a couple of days. Then, though of course the classes in our regular right view classes also the sublime states of the mind, sublime feelings, they will be taught, and one will learn how to uh, become an expert in this, the practice of these sublime feelings. But we have planned to conduct the workshops also regarding these sublime feelings, and also different motivating, say, confidence building techniques which are called Intipada. Again, there is one workshop, success steps. I find them very, very beautiful, very, very authoritative, very, very, say, complete. It's a complete package. So because of that reason, for students, for everyone. So we have planned to conduct the workshops in the month of November. They definitely, though, of course, in the right view solutions, I will explain a few more details about that workshop and all. So in this complete package of the steps of success, Iddhipada, complete package of these Brahma Viharas, the sublime states of mind, if they are understood, then definitely the mind can comprehend about the purpose of life, about the purpose of doing some work, some action, taking up some responsibility. All these things will be very clear. That is the main solution. That is the that will actually hit the core reason for laziness, and thereby it is very easy to come out of laziness. That's why these right view solutions, I find them the most authoritative solutions. The psychological solutions, of course, they handle laziness from different angles, but it not in a holistic way, not in a very authoritative way, not in an integrated way. It may definitely work for different people at different situations. But to make it more authoritative, to hit the core reason of the laziness, then understanding this, the complete package of these confidence building techniques, the Iddhipada, the complete package of these wholesome feelings, the Brahma Viharas, are very, very crucial, are very, very important. So, this little bit of self talk, positive self talk, giving, like, say, being loving to yourself, being friendly to yourself, being appreciative of yourself. So that's what is the meaning of positive self-talk they're talking about here, these psychologists. And to learn these things perfectly, more authoritatively, more comprehensively, more completely, we recommend this workshops or of course our courses where you can learn in a very step-by-step way. And in the workshops, you can learn only on those particular things in a more integrated way. So in that way also people talk about, and so many other things like maintaining some discipline, maintaining some keeping water always with you, which will again by drinking or by washing your face, face, you can feel fresh. All these simple tips also many people will give and talk about. And also to see the fun in even the most boring activity also. That kind of attitude, that kind of mentality, if you have, to see fun in anything, that will also help you to uh, say come out of this boredom, and then come out of laziness or indolence, because most of our works they may have, again of course it depends on the attitude. People will see some kind of boredom, monotony, repetitiveness. Most of us, we have to do the same thing again and again, lot of repetition. Some people they may not like that repetition, but if we have this positive outlook of seeing some fun in this repetitiveness, some fun in this monotony, some fun in this simple, very simple tasks also. With that kind of attitude or outlook, if you have, then also there is a possibility of coming out of laziness. To see fun is one, of course, one aspect. More than that, to be mindful is the most powerful thing. Even in the simple things, if you learn how to put your mind into it, then you can't be a lazy person. You can't be indolent. Because we can't appreciate the beauty in the presence of mind, the beauty in putting our mind into any damn thing now, which is going on now. Like even washing or sweeping or bathing or or eating, whatever it is, any damn thing. If you learn how to put your mind into it, and if you discover the best happiness in the very mindfulness itself, if your mind can comprehend and discover the beauty of the presence of mind, the beauty of mindfulness, then definitely you escape from all kinds of laziness. That's why mindfulness has become a master key, even to come out of this so-called laziness. Of course, about this mindfulness, and this right view approach, right view mindfulness, you might have heard and you might have understood about the importance of right view mindfulness, because the mind will learn to enjoy in the present moment. Only a mind of fantasy, which daydreams, or which doesn't see the beauty in the present moment, only such minds will become indolent minds. Only such minds become lazy minds. But if the mind is trying to enjoy to be in the present moment, and to appreciate the beauty of present moment, and to see the greatest happiness in the present moment, if that much smartness, if you could achieve through this mindfulness training or this right view approach, then nobody can stop you to become an active person or a dynamic person or an industrious person. So that is the beauty of this right view or this right mindfulness. Of course, this fun in all the boring things also. If this kind of very small tips, many people of course suggest, even the psychologists also. But if you should go deep into it, it's finally the mindfulness. It is finally the right view. It is finally the right mindfulness. That is, which is very, very powerful to bring your mind to the present moment, because the mind has discovered the greatest beauty, the greatest happiness in the very present moment itself. Then there is no need for the mind to end up in some fantasy world or daydreaming and all. Or it doesn't require any other kind of sensual excitement or any other entertainment also. Because the mind is deriving or appreciating or enjoying the beauty, the happiness of being in the very present moment. So that is the beauty of right mindfulness, which is a part of right view only. One more important reason for people to become lazy is this perfectionism. Everything they want to be perfect. In there, it's again one kind of daydreaming. It's again one kind of fantasy, one kind of schizophrenia, one kind of beginning of schizophrenia. I want the things to be very, very perfect. There's nothing like absolute perfectness in the world. Whatever you do, you you perform, there will be some flaws, some weakness, some kind of drawbacks, some kind of negative things. Always associate with whatever, how much perfection you show in your work. That's why keep working is important than always worrying and dreaming for only perfection. Is too much emphasis on perfection also make people to step back, because as by nature you can't become absolutely perfect, and in creating different plans and different say uh, conditions to make the things perfect, you will waste a lot of time. That very dreaming itself, you may waste a lot of time, because you may not get that perfect condition while planning itself. Then you lose interest in that very action itself, in that very goal itself, in that very responsibility itself, and then you may step back. And that kind of too much emphasis on perfectionism also make people to become indolent and lazy and step back and do nothing. Have seen many of my students simply wondering and dreaming and say stepping and becoming idle and indolent, doing nothing, because they want something achieved absolutely perfect. They want to become heroes or heroines in overnight. That is that kind of too much of ambition, too much of perfectionism. Why it arises in the mind? Because of too much of ambition. Too much of ambition is too much of say projecting that eagerness to project oneself, that I-ness and minus. Too much attachment to this I-ness and minus. If I fail also, it's okay. That very act of that very act itself fascinates me, thrills me. If that kind of approach is not there towards work, such a person becomes too much focused on so-called perfectionism, and he will end up in this kind of indolence. This is one of the greatest reasons nowadays all over the world. There's too much emphasis on perfectionism, too much ambition. That is the reason why people are becoming more and more indolent. Subconsciously also, uh, this kind of ambitions, this kind of emphasis on perfectionism will completely make your mind a mess, and then you end up in indolence. Okay, in that way we can say all these different causes and different kinds of solutions also. One should come out of all these things. One should be quite clear in one's ambitions, one's abilities, one's limitations. All this middle path approach is again the right view solution. Not falling into the extremes is the right view solution for laziness, or that smartness of being in the present, that smartness of what is extreme, what is not extreme, that smartness of my abilities and the task that I'm taking up, the smartness of enjoying the work itself rather than the result. All these different kinds of intelligence, if you have, then definitely one need not fall into this laziness. And other tips also, of course, one can take up, like water or this proper exercise, proper health, proper food, proper association, proper goals, small goals or big goals, proper dividing those goals, small, making them smart. All these different things one can definitely follow. In addition to that, all these little deeper aspects that I'm talking under this right view solutions. If these ideas also, if we have the proper confidence building techniques, the proper feelings, proper awareness techniques, the proper this objective awareness, if these things develop, and finally if the mind can comprehend the beauty of the very present moment, the very present action, very present involvement of the mind in this very present moment, that is the most beautiful thing, that is the happiest thing. If these kind of things the mind can comprehend, then one need not fall into any kind of extremes. Then the mind will not fall into any kind of past thinking or future thinking or fantasy thinking or daydreaming. Then automatically one will become uh, smart enough, sharp enough, active enough to involve in the present responsibility. Or it is the mind will become smart enough to take up responsibility. So in that way, right view solutions definitely they are more authoritative. To support these right view solutions, these psychological solutions, and even the religious solutions. What are religious solutions? Like on all religions, they say have faith, either in the teacher or in your boss or in your father or your leader, and give your 100% to that faith, not to that person, even to that faith or that quality or to the task. Then automatically a lot of energy will come from within, and you can start appreciating, enjoying, or involving in that particular task. Whether it's in Christianity or Islam or everybody will talk about. Even Buddha also give a lot of emphasis on faith. So I represent Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, absolute enlightenment, absolute liberation, absolute happiness, this Nibbana. So listen to me, follow my instructions, follow my say teachings, follow my meditation instructions, follow my other instructions, how to live in the world, like meritorious actions, like completely involving in meritorious actions. Whatever I give, I get back. So let me give as much as possible because I lose nothing because I'm going to get back. So this kind of understanding of this law of cause and effect, and based on that, motivating people to involve in these meritorious actions like generosity, like morality, like meditation, like respecting the respectables, like service, like this punyanamodana, all these things, all the so many meritorious actions. Strongly put yourself into these meritorious actions without hesitation, and that's what uh, other people also they talk about. Of course, they have their own versions of faith, versions of what is good, what is bad. Like Jesus Christ and Muhammad Paigam, these monotheistic religions, they emphasize on the will of the God. Submit, surrender your ego. Ego is the main reason for laziness. Too much emphasis on my own ego, my own this fineness and minus, my ideas, my ambitions, my preferences, my priorities. If I don't get, then I don't do anything. That's what is the modern thinking nowadays. It's okay, it's good, it has so many benefits, but still it has so many problems also. So to come out of that kind of hesitation and too much emphasis on one's own will, so all these religious people they talk about submitting one's own will to a superior will, like the God's will. Of course, again it depends on the representatives of those gods or those representatives. If they're good people, then you end up in good action. If they are bad people, and if you surrender to those bad people and for their bad wills, then you end up in bad result. That risk is very much there. But of course, many of them are very good people also. One can surrender to their will and the name of God's will. And that will give tremendous energy levels. That's why people who are working for God's will, they don't mind to do any kind of work. Of course, that is one extreme, of course, like some people, many terrorists and extremists. But majority of these religious people, because of that faith only, they are surviving, they are happy, they are doing the things very efficiently. Majority of the people, some extreme people are there in every religion that is there. But this kind of faith also will trigger a person to submit their will and to work for the will of the leader, the will of the God, something like that. That will also make them more happy and more. It will help them to get the results, right results, and in that way they can be successful in the life. So in that way, the religious people they again talk about faith, talk about submitting one's own will to the God's will. That is the way to come out of the laziness. That's what is their approach. That's how they define laziness also. The societal will and the God's will. If somebody is resisting, then he will end up in laziness. That's what is the definition of laziness in these monotheistic religions, especially in the monotheistic religions like Islam and Christianity. So, so this kind of say, because many things people could not comprehend, as I was telling you a few minutes back about that smartness in different kinds of intelligence are required to strike the balance, to strike moderation, to strike that middle path. Many people lack that kind of smartness. That's why they require what is called the faith. Faith in some kind of superior smartness that I can't comprehend, but with my faith, I can connect to that superior smartness. That's what all religious people, the good religious people, let us say, they try to preach to their subjects, to their devotees, to their students. But now, again, the world is becoming individualistic, and of course, the so many religions also they are completely falling into the extremes. It's very difficult to find sometimes. Sometimes the right religious leaders, definitely one has to have his own discretion also. So again, balancing this faith and one's own intelligence, that is also required now. Intuitively, sometimes if you feel connected to some teacher, some leader, then you can definitely work for them with 100%. Intuitively, at least you should connect. Then you can use your intelligence also, and you can connect with your intelligence also. So that's what is the religious approach to come out of laziness. And of course, all religious leaders also they talk about other kind of different tips like light, making use of light. In when we want to sleep, we put off the lights because the mind should fall into some kind of drowsiness, sleepiness. Then only you get that what you call the sleep. When the mind is fresh, then you can't sleep. Even these lights also different. That's why we can't sleep during daytime because of the light. We can't put on the lights during night time when we are sleeping. So, if you want to become active and your mind should open up, then people suggest light. And in different meditation centers also they recommend even for meditation also mind should be very fresh. There are some centers, of course, they ask to put off the light for a different reason, but in some centers they put on the light so that mind becomes fresh, alert when the light is on. Water, the coolness also will keep away the drowsiness and sleepiness. All these tips also many religious leaders they recommend. In addition to this faith, in addition to some rituals and ceremonies, even there's so many rituals and ceremonies in different religions, different say triggers of your senses, different smells, different scents, different fragrances, different attractive colors in different rituals. That will also trigger your senses, your eye sense, your nose sense, your different kinds of foods also. It will trigger your tongue sense, different sounds, different bells, different gongs. That will activate your senses. In that way also, many religions, they have designed their own rituals, ceremonies, customs, traditions, festivals to keep you alert. Like in Shivaratri and all, the emphasis is on to train your mind to become more and more alert, to keep yourself, say, active whole night. Of course, with some religious mind, with some connecting yourself to some religious quality, some superior quality. All religions, it is there. In that way, religions have designed their own different ways of keeping the mind alert, active, connecting to superior qualities, superior, say, meritorious actions like generosity, like morality, all these things, and these different kinds of rituals, different kinds of ceremonies. All these different things are there in the world. But now, when the world is becoming more and more individualistic, one has to understand the right view approaches also. And what are these right view approaches? As I was telling you, understanding what is moderation for me, for my abilities, cultivating the mindfulness techniques, cultivating this awareness techniques, the objective awareness, objective mindfulness techniques, cultivating these wholesome feelings, the right feelings, the right view feelings, the emotions like this metta karuna mudita upekka. Because when the emotions are disturbed or imbalanced, then again, definitely the mind will fall into indolence. Mind will fall into laziness. If there is a balance in these emotions, there is proper understanding and balance in these emotions, then that's why they're called sublime states, like the states of the Brahma Viharas. They are completely alert minds, very, very authoritative and alert minds, authoritatively alert minds. So that's why developing this kind of sublime states of mind, developing these very, very authoritative confidence building techniques, these Iddhipadas, Chanda, Virya, Chitta, Vimamsa, of course. Many of you might have learned it in the workshop, in our courses. Of course, as I told you, we have separate workshops for these Siddhipadas, separate workshop for these Brahma Viharas, that also one can attend. And proper understanding, proper reasoning through this, what is right, what is wrong, this Asubha, Subha, Anicca, Nicca, Anatta, Atta, Sukha, Asukha, these things, the proper sanya, proper perceptions, proper understanding. This will also make you to become smart enough to know your abilities, your involvement, your stepping back, properly shifting from rest to work, work to rest skillfully. These things, all these skillfulness we will come by developing the mind regard to these four faculties of the mind that we teach in our courses, in our classes. That definitely we suggest all of you to work on these things correctly, authoritatively. That is the best authoritative way to come out of this laziness or indolence, the right view approach. Of course, in scriptures also you can see Buddha instructing different disciples based on their cause for their indolence. Somebody is sleepy, how to make them to come out of that sleepiness and then work on the mind. Of course, Buddha's emphasis is on the absolute, that is liberation. And of course, when he was talking to some worldly people, when he was talking to one king in Pasenadi, he was also a little lazy when he was listening to discourse of Buddha. He was sleeping, he was drowsy because of his overeating habit. Hmm. Then he gave some instructions, some gathas also. So one of the attendants of that king, he has to chant that gatha when he was eating because he could understand. He could again think about that overeating to reduce eating. Thereby, he can become more alert, more active, more healthy. That way, based on the need of the person, if he's a lay person, if he is like what is the cause of his sleepiness, whether he's a monk, what is the cause of his indolence. These things, of course, Buddha could see with his supernormal powers, with his omniscient knowledge. And accordingly, Buddha used to give the solutions, even some simple solutions like this, handling overeating, handling sleepiness, all these things. Sometimes Buddha used to give for some people to clench their teeth when they're meditating to come out of sleepiness. For some people, it may work. In that way, you can't say this is very, very, say, superior technique, this is very inferior technique. No, it depends on one's own mental predisposition. For different people, different tips, which may look very, very awkward also, which may look very, very refined. For some people, it may become very awkward. For some people, the awkward techniques may be refined techniques. That's what is Buddha's approach. And of course, Buddha's middle path approach is the best approach to keep oneself alert, active, to achieve that middle path approach, that middle path in the life. One should require different skills, different kinds of intelligence. And those different kinds of intelligence, one can progress in that different kinds of intelligence by cultivating the four faculties of the mind: the awareness faculty, the feeling faculty, the reacting faculty, or the confidence building faculty, and the right analyzing faculty, right perception. If these things are slowly, correctly, one develops in a very balanced way, as we do in our workshops, and also in our courses, then that is the most authoritative way to fix and handle the laziness and indolence. And some people talk about, okay, before that, the positive effects of laziness. Just some 2-3 minutes we'll spend on these positive effects of laziness also. And before that, uh, okay, just we'll finish off these positive effects, and then if there is some time, we will look into it, because this is more important. These positive effects of laziness also. Some people, they romanticize laziness, idleness, not laziness. The idleness they romanticize, even in the medieval period, or even in the modern period also, in the West and in the East also. Many Eastern philosophers, many Western philosophers, even the religious leaders, they romanticize. Idleness has its own beauty. That's what people say. You know, there is one Italian philosopher. There is some beauty in idleness itself. So in that way, Oscar Wilde, to do nothing at all is the most difficult and the most intellectual. In that way, so of course, some people, they say, to become idle is also like, there's something called, as I was telling you, there's something called tactical idleness. That means like when to step back, when to work, when to take rest. That kind of tactical idleness ability, if you have, that very idle mind, some creative ideas, some productive ideas, innovative things, some stress busting nowadays. But mental stress is because the people get carried away in activity, or in that thinking, or in planning of that activity. The mind gets carried away. That's why many people end up in stress. And if you know this tactical idleness, how to let go, just ignore, and just step back. That kind of ability to step back tactically, cleverly, intelligently. That is what they call it as uh, tactical idleness. And there is something called manic defense. Again, in psychology, there is something called manic defense. What does it mean? When there is some tough situation, then the subconscious mind, when it finds presented with uncomfortable thoughts or feelings, to distract the conscious mind, one will end up in this, what is called this tactical idleness. And it's called manic defense. It is protecting oneself, protecting one's own conscious mind from these uncomfortable thoughts, from these conflicting thoughts. To protect oneself, the mind should learn how to step back. And that is what is the power of meditativeness, or mindfulness, or meditation. That manic defense, a tactful stepping back, which majority of the people find it, or they classify it as laziness. It may be a tactful approach to handle stress, to handle conflict. That is one very, very powerful way of stress management. That way, idleness has its own positive benefits. The psychology of self-deception. So there are some books on this psychology of self-deception, because like mind should learn. So this fight or flight tendency, you might have heard of that. Either one should indulge in the fight, or one should escape from that. If you get carried away in that conflicting mind only, then you invite more problems. And if you have a lot of hesitation or reservation to flight also, then you'll end up in a lot of stress. So tactically, one should end up in this self-defense, manic defense, or in this self-deception. That's a negative word, but it's okay. So in that way, this tactical laziness, or this manic defense. So these things also nowadays the psychologists are working upon. And of course, again, it should not be too much. That's why this middle path approach is the most authoritative. And to achieve this middle path approach, this holistic cultivation of the mind, the four faculties of the mind, is again the most authoritative way. Hmm? And of course, the small tips based on again your discretion, your intelligence, you can use the different kinds of tips that we discussed to handle laziness. To understand the solutions, one should understand the causes also properly for one's own laziness. Don't look at the general causes of laziness. One should look at his own or her own causes of laziness. Then only one's own smartness, one's own intelligence also will develop, and one will get the proper solution for his or her laziness. Hmm? These are the different ways and means that I explained now. The psychological approach, the religious approach, the right view approach, these different approaches you can choose, or you can just um, again based on your discretion, you can just handle some of these tips, or you just use some of these tips and plunge into them. Then definitely you can come out of one can come out of the laziness or this indolence. Okay. Now, of course, there are so many dimensions, as I told you, so many angles to look into this laziness, both for the causes and also for the solutions. I think this much is enough for today. So, if you have some quick questions, you can ask, and then we'll conclude. But definitely, I suggest this workshops also. They'll give a complete package of these wholesome feelings, sublime uh, states of mind will definitely help you to come out of not only laziness. Actually, that's why Buddha always talks about knowing the defilements of the mind and to fix them. The core defilements are are ignorance and the craving only. Dukkha satcha. Understanding the four noble truths. Yeah, that's what I wanted to tell you. Correctly understanding the four noble truths. The dukkha comes. When the laziness is also dukkha. Most of the time we end up in dukkha because of our laziness. So most of our laziness actually is rooted in this ignorance or this I-ness and minus and my craving, me and my craving. These are the causes for laziness also. This is not just the cause of suffering. This is the cause of my laziness also. So understanding these four noble truths, this craving and I-ness and this ignorance is the cause of suffering. Letting go of this I-ness also, letting go of my craving also, and what I can give, that giving approach. You want to involve in your action thoroughly, as Krishna used to say in Gita. Give everything of yourself, your energy, your intelligence, everything to what you are doing. Don't expect the results. It's not so easy. For that, proper understanding, proper intelligence is required. What is the intelligence? There's absolute happiness in giving. What is point number one? There's absolute happiness in this very present moment, being in the present moment. If these two things, if you have discovered, then ignoring the results becomes easy. And completely involving in what you are doing becomes easy. For that, proper training of the mind is important. Simply listening to some beautiful things, wow, beautifully he said, beautifully those people said, in that way, simply appreciating and remaining idle, remaining lazy will not help. Applying them, learn them through this proper right to techniques, right to mindfulness, right to emotions or feelings, training to the mind in these sublime states, right to confidence building techniques, right to perception. One should train. Then only that clarity comes. That clarity comes, laziness goes. So that is what is the right view approach. I think all of you should understand this and work on this. They ask the questions related to this topic, all this kind of things which are not related to this. When the mind move out of the body and travel to so far places, planets, birds, etc., and come back to the body, are we only thinking or proliferation of mind staying? All these imaginary things, only the people with for some useless minds, this kind of useless questions will come. They are completely in their own dream world. These kind of questions, Buddha also completely discourages. As I used to give an example, like what about this world? What about this mind going here and there? Now work on your abilities of the mind, work on present actions, present responsibilities, present meditation, present mindfulness, meditativeness. And automatically these things will open up. If you don't know ABCD and if you're thinking about PhD in rocket science, you're absolutely one kind of gone case it is. Even the madness also comes because of this kind of extreme, say, thinking, which is irrelevant to my life, to my happiness, to my mind being in the present moment, which is like, say, uh, if there is a lot of gap between my what I want to know and what I'm knowing, if there's a lot of gap, then one will become mad also. In that way, just work on this cultivating of the mind, and based on the, and also learn to understand this the topic that is under discussion instead of this kind of imaginary things. Mind has, as I told you so many times, it has so many abilities out of all these places and planets and all this nonsense. It can travel across the realms. It can travel across the time, billions of years. That much of power mind has, and this is nothing. This is absolutely nothing. In that way, anything, any questions about this today's topic? If there are no questions, we'll conclude with one small chant. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sabba dhammanubhavena sabba sanghanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te sukhi bhave yang nidduko aham nicca aham viya idacha me sukhi hontu ma jata chatavedino mami gammante dhamme tatta hontu sukhi sada tato parancharadjesu chakkavalesu jantano. Sadhu, sadhu, sukhi hontu. May all of you be happy, healthy, and peaceful. May all beings also be happy, healthy, and